And I am Vicky Perez Segovia.
And you're listening to Through Dangers Untold, a monthly art podcast about traversing the precarious gap between art school and a professional, sustainable art career. And Vicky, what are you working on this week?
So this week I'm gonna say I'm on my extended post C2E2 recovery. I haven't been like working on a ton of art stuff. After C2E2 I started doing a little fan art, some doodles, and I've mostly just been doing kind of like doodling
Mm-hmm.
the last few days, which is nice, because I'm trying to give myself a break before I get back to like major projects and stuff. But yeah,
Oh, yeah. That
yeah.
sounds so relaxing.
I will admit I do it at times when I shouldn't be because I'm procrastinating. But
but
sometimes you just gotta art.
yeah, exactly. And you never know what ideas are going to come out at that point.
Exactly. What have you been up to this week?
I am so excited because I finally finished my June Fay piece from last year.
I am so happy for
It's
you.
finally done.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So
Do you feel good about it?
as with all my pieces, I there are many things I really love, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm so happy that it turned out the way they did, and other things I learned a ton from. Um, but overall, I'm really proud of myself for getting this one done because it was a big step up um, from my previous pieces. So it was cool to challenge myself to do a bigger
Mm-hmm.
piece, to do backgrounds, to do multiple figures, to do still life,
Yeah.
all that stuff, foliage. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, I'm super excited.
that's really good. I'm so glad that you were able to kind of like get through this like big piece that it sounds like you kind of like got a lot of good experiences, like some learning moments from.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a ton.
That's good.
So,
That's yeah. That's always really nice when you're just like working on stuff and learning through your process.
yeah.
Um, I feel like I'm not great at that, or at least I'm not aware when that's happening when I'm like working on something, especially if it's like larger pieces. Or I mean, I guess it's probably because I don't do large pieces as often. Maybe I should. Um, but it's like that whole thing of kind of like you're working on something and like you're stuck, but it's like you find a way to get past it, and you're just like, okay, it's like I figured this out. Now I know how to do this in the future.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a great feeling. And I think I don't give myself that opportunity enough. This is a true like epitome that I'm having right now.
Oh.
um like wow, I don't give myself enough opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
um but yeah, because like I'm thinking about, it's like back in school there was like this one really huge project that we had to do, and I was constantly making weird decisions in school of being like, oh, I'm gonna try to do this huge piece in this way that I've never done before. I think it's gonna be a good idea. And then I'm like partway through it and I'm just like, I'm hating how this looks, but I'm this far in and I can't go back.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's usually where like I force myself to learn things, but I think
Mhm.
just because I don't have those time constraints anymore, like I don't feel that pressure, and I feel like my brain has gotten as out of shape as I have. Maybe I need to really examine that.
Well, don't you feel like you learn things though, like prepping for C2E2?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, oh man, I think so. Oh geez, where to even start with C2E2? So,
Oh man. That was a big sigh.
yeah, I would say biggest lesson I've learned in preparing for C2E2 is truly being vulnerable and like knowing how to reach out.
Mm.
And there are so many factors that go into that because it's more than just like, oh, getting over your own stubbornness and your pride and blah, blah, blah. It's so important to be in like a good and healthy state of mind because I will be completely candid because I think it's an important thing to talk about when it in terms of mental health. But right before I started preparing for C2E2, I started on antidepressants
Mhm.
and it made it so much easier for me to reach out.
Mhm.
Like truly, like I it literally felt like I was living in this haze. I was just surrounded by smoke all the time and then I started my meds and everything just kind of cleared up and I was just like, "Oh, there's people here.
Oh.
Hello." Everyone's like, "Yeah, we've been talking to you." Um but yeah, my recommendation for people out there is I again there's a whole huge much larger conversation about accessibility to medication and therapy.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely.
if you do have the means to do it, I highly recommend it because it can make such a big difference. It
Yeah.
has made a huge difference and like in reaching out to friends, including yourself on it, it's like I was able to, like set up a schedule, have people come over to help me,
Mhm.
you know? And it's like it was always like really fun and it's
It was.
like I one thing that I really kind of like noticed about it was that like anytime, like people were leaving and it's like there was so much like gratitude that like I felt towards like everyone, taking time, sacrificing time, traveling just to come over to hang out for a few hours or help me work on stuff for a few hours, and it's just like a lot of friends were usually just being like, I'm super into doing this. It's like I needed a project to work, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I've also been in a rut and it's like this kind of has helped me, get out of that. And it's just like one of those things where it's just like we get so stuck and we just let ourselves be stuck sometimes.
Mhm.
And it hurts us a lot. Um and it's so important to like know that you have your network, that you have, your people there to help you.
Yeah.
Um I think like knowing to reach out and like I mean, I feel like all of these friendships that I've had, like, it's kind of like I know that I've worked hard to like build these friendships and these relationships, but there was so much of me that was always very hesitant about reaching out, of being like, oh, but I don't want to ask them to do something for me because it's like I don't want people to think I'm taking advantage or anything. But it's like no, it's like I try to be communicative and like receptive, as a friend, as a peer.
Mhm.
And it's just like it's totally okay to ask for something in return,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And like you said, it was so fun.
Mhm.
It was so fun to get together and create something together.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many like bonding experiences that come from stuff like that, that I think we don't allow ourselves.
Mhm.
Because it's like, yeah, we're all working, we're all struggling, and it's nice to kind of like sit around and commiserate, and just be like, oh,
Yes.
yeah, my job is blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, yeah, me too, you know, and just be able to have those conversations and like meeting new people. Cause like that, I think is like one of my biggest things. I always talk about being a sort of like outgoing introvert where it's like, I make a lot of friends, but I feel like I'm not great at maintaining those friendships
Mm.
just because one, poor time management, and two, because I'm an introvert, I get very exhausted from seeing people.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be like, oh, I want to see all these people all the time. It's like my brain does not do that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like must recharge.
Yeah. It's usually like, "Oh, I've met this person, had a great conversation," and then they reach out like a week later, a few weeks later, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you want to hang out?" My brain's like, I already spoke to you like a month ago."
I
And like
understand that,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like part of me feels bad because I'm just like they're literally just trying to be a friend, and be social. My brain's like, what is this?
That's hilarious. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I don't like you. It's like how do I not sound like a huge jerk right now?
Yeah, it's like gotta recharge.
Yeah. Like I swear there's nothing against you. I'm just so tired of seeing you already from 2 months ago. But I swear you're not the only one I'm tired of.
Oh. Yep.
That honestly becomes a conversation that I have. Like I have to figure out how to like phrase it because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm sick of you. I have to be like, I need a break from everyone. It's like,
Yeah.
I think you're awesome, but I am so tired.
Yeah. I think
Um,
most of us would understand that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely like reaching out and like learning to kind of like really accept support from people.
Mm.
I think is something that I've always been bad at. And so it was nice allowing myself that experience. Um Obviously I had never boothed at C2E2 before or at any major convention. I always do local.
Oh no, I think we lost you. Oh shoot. We lost Vicky for
And
a moment. Are you back?
oh, yes.
I lost you for a moment. So
Okay.
you were saying you had never boothed at a larger show.
Yeah. So I've never boothed at like a big convention, but like I've done like small local shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um and doing doing small shows, it's like I kind of get used to the sort of, I guess, like the size and the quickness of it. It's a very easy setup. I have all my stuff organized and arranged already for those types of small setups.
Mm-hmm.
And so now knowing that I was going to have like, oh, this 10-foot booth instead of a little 4-foot table space was going to be such a huge contrast. And I was like, man, how am I going to fill that up? So many financial lessons
Oh yes.
and experiences.
Yep.
Um,
These shows will teach you finances pretty quick.
oh yeah, next year. Like and it's like it's such a fun show. It's such a fun experience doing
Oh,
big shows.
oh, isn't it great?
It's so fun, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things where you're just like you have that like Thanos and Gamora moment, like, but at what
Yeah, big shows are awesome. They can be so exciting. Oh,
you there?
yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I cut out again.
Just a little bit.
Okay. But yeah, so it's like you you kind of realize like what a huge cost it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's like, man, it's like it really is so much fun, but it's like it is a massive investment.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah.
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 I think next year I am definitely going to try to like, round up friends like, hey man, let's share a booth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's share that booth.
Yeah. I'm thinking of doing the same.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it would be worth discussing, honestly.
Yeah, because yeah, I think me going there again, taking a look around at was in the booths and who was in Artist Alley, I think it finally sunk in that
Mhm.
that with the Reed Pop shows, it's just so hard to get into Artist Alley
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I just think maybe the only way to do it is to split a booth.
Yeah. I really think that is the case cuz it's just like people so I was like talking with some, like other.
Oh no, I think we lost you again. So I was looking at the booths around
Like for the
us.
last few years.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
And it's like,
Are you there?
yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm like also like checking the like connection and I wasn't sure if I got disconnected.
Yeah.
But it's like people asking like, "Oh, like why didn't you just do Artist Alley or like you should just do Artist Alley next year?" And it's just like I've been trying to apply to Artist Alley.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I never got in. It's like I only have a booth this time because they literally emailed me being like, "Oh, hey, there's no space in Artist Alley, but if you want to be at the show, you can pay $1 bajillion for a booth."
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love spending an exorbitant amount of money that I do not have.
Yeah, and that is so hard when you're a beginner and you're still building your audience, you're still
Mm-hmm.
building your inventory, you're still building up your sales skills,
Yeah.
all of it. I mean, that takes time.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you're
Yeah.
like, but my only option is this expensive booth.
Yeah.
So,
It's like people don't realize the amount of investment things
yeah,
like this take.
right? It is a
It's like,
lot.
yeah, it's like not just financially, but like time and energy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it drains you.
Yeah, it's a lot to put together to prep
Yeah.
for shows.
And it's like I remember speaking with this one artist that I was tabling with at a smaller local convention. He was telling me how like he's done Artist Alley at C2E2, and I was asking him, I'm like, do you feel like it's worth it doing Artist Alley?
Mm-hmm.
Like doing these shows with like really expensive booths and tables, and he's like, honestly, yes. He's like, you don't make the money back that day,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're not an established artist, but like I've gotten some of my highest paying clients through, you know, showing at large conventions.
Yes.
And he's like, and that's where it ends up paying off. It's like it's that networking piece that becomes the like quote unquote, it's like do it for the exposure,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like it's so dangerous because it's like, yeah, it's like, what if these people see me? But it's also like, I haven't eaten anything for 3 weeks.
Oh no.
I mean, fortunately, that was not the case. Fortunately, I had some real. I was. Oh my god, I feel so grateful to everyone that helped me, not just preparing for C2E2, but at C2E2.
Yeah.
So many friends were like, oh, I'm gonna bring you some snacks and food on Friday, and I'm gonna bring you snacks and food on Saturday. I'm gonna bring you snacks and food
Oh,
on this day, and
that's
so it's
so
like
nice.
it was so nice. I did not go hungry that weekend.
Oh, good.
I was fully expecting that I was gonna be like, oh my god, I'm gonna be alone at my booth at some point. I'm gonna get hungry, and I'm gonna feel sick, and that didn't happen. I had a bunch of people at my booth the entire weekend, like I think there was maybe like 1 or 2 hours the entire weekend that I was alone at my booth.
Wow.
It was
That's
really, really nice.
awesome though.
Yeah. And that's kind of like I do want to say is that like this is where meaningful networking comes in handy
Mhm.
because it's like it's not like oh, I want to make friends with these people because I'm going to need to use you someday. It's like,
No.
no, it's like you have a network of friends that work with you, and it's like you all share a struggle. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm trying not to say this in a way that sounds preachy, but it's that kind of like kindness begets kindness thing
Yes.
where it's like you want to put out what you want to receive, and it's just
Yes.
like, but like don't do it because that's what you're expecting. It's like do it because it's important for you to care and to be kind,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's always like my biggest thing is that like I'm always kind of like very anxious and nervous about like asking people for things or demanding or expecting things of people, especially when someone's like asking for like help or like even like borrowing things or like asking for some kind of assistance and being like, "Oh, I'll pay you back" or whatever. It's like I very adamantly like tell people it's like no, it's like don't worry about paying me back. It's like I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, I'm broke and I could use it, but no. Cuz it's
Yeah.
like I'm not interested in putting pressure on people to like owe me something.
No, no.
Cuz it's
It's
like I hate that feeling of
yeah.
experiencing that myself, and it's like I don't want to put other people through that either,
No.
you know?
Right. You do it because you want them to succeed and you want to help them out
Exactly.
because that's
Exactly.
who you are as a person, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's just kind of like what's important to me. Um
Yeah. But don't you think too though it's like realizing that your friends are your network?
mhm.
Like
Mhm.
realizing, oh, you just need to live your life and not be a jerk and
Yeah,
like your friends are there and they'll be there with you, you know what I'm saying?
exactly. Yes.
Like they are the network that you're building.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz like the people who end up being the ones who, maybe help you in, professional situations, it's like they're friends that you've been making since the beginning, it's like you're struggling together.
Yeah.
You're having these experiences together, and, it's like you're with people who can empathize in your situation
Mhm.
because I mean, I think that's like one of the biggest reasons, it's like when people, I mean, I don't know what it's like working at a major company together, but I assume um it might be similar. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cuz my connection went into the red for a second.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. You're back. You came back fast.
okay. So, but yeah, and it's like um I feel like kind of that idea of like having a cohort, is like really important because like the people that are like sharing these experiences with you, and it's like I haven't really had extensive work experience with like in like corporate or other industries, but I imagine similar things happen, like especially if you're in an industry or a line of work that you care about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. Though I don't know if the bonds happen as much. I mean, maybe just because I've been an artist my whole life. I feel
Right.
like bonding through art struggles like really
Mhm.
cements people.
I
You
think
know?
so too. Yeah.
It
I
builds
I
some
I
really, really strong friendships.
yeah, I feel like I get whoops. Oh no. Sorry.
No worries, it's fine.
My phone. Um but I get the sense like that's something that happens in like creative industry
Yeah.
because I mean, you can probably tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like or I get the sense that like you can find that in like theater circles or like people going into film, I imagine, like based on like the people that I know
Mhm.
that like are trying to get into film and stuff, people that are just doing like I think like performance art in general,
Mhm.
because I feel like there's just a lot of crossover with people that I know that like do theater, and then people that want to get into like TV and film.
Oh
So
yeah.
like especially like people that like are trying to do comedy, because like there's a lot of improv people and stand up
Oh
people,
yeah.
and it's like that's like from the people I know, it's like that seems like such a big fluid community where people seem to go back and forth.
It is theater, especially like oh yeah. I mean, it can be really interesting because it can be kind of fleeting because of the nature of theater.
Yeah,
But
sure.
a lot of times though, there are people that you meet through it where you're just friends for life, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I feel like that is very much like a creative
Yeah,
thing.
art too. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because it's
I think. Are you there?
in the eyes of society.
Oh, I missed. I want to hear that last part. I missed it because you
Oh,
cut out. But what was the last part?
yeah. Like you all like want to like share like stories and experiences with like each other, and you all have that kind of drive and passion. It's like you all
Yes.
know how kind of like undervalued you all are in the eyes of
Yeah.
society,
Right.
you know?
Kind of the
And there's a
underdog.
lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
And there's a lot of that kind of like, yeah, well, it's like we're in this together
Yes.
type of,
Yes.
fighting mentality.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm so glad that
Um,
happened for C2E2. That's really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am too. It's like meeting the people that I met was really great. Um, I won't go into enormous detail because I feel like I've talked about it enough with friends. Just kind of fangirling. I will just summarize and say I got to meet some of my favorite internet celebrities, and I deeply hope they go back again next year.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And like also just because like based on like my experiences, I mean, it may or may not be the case with them, but it's like it's like I go talk to my favorite artist every year at C2E2 when I attend,
Mhm.
just as an attendee, and it's like he remembers me every year. Like he's not like, "Oh, hey Vicky, I remember you exactly." But it's like he'll see me and he's like, "Oh, hey, I remember you."
Nice.
And like he'll like maybe vaguely remember a conversation or something, or be like, "Oh yeah, you showed me a thing or something." And
Yeah,
it's like,
nice.
yeah, it's just like a nice kind of like acquaintance to
Yeah.
like develop. And it's just
Yeah.
like you know who I am.
Exactly.
um but yeah, and so like that's something that I think is like
Oh,
I feel like
are you there?
uh yes. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'm so sorry I keep cutting out.
Ah, it's all right. It happens.
I'm like trying to vigilantly watch the connection, making sure I don't say anything too important when I see
You're
it.
like, wait for the pause.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. I gotta get
Yeah.
better at improving in the quiet. Speaking of improv skills,
Yeah.
instead of my tired, like,
Yeah.
uh.
Start singing.
Yo, hey, there you go. Intermission song.
Yeah. Like being put on hold.
Yeah, like, yeah, totally. Hold music.
Yeah. Anyone listening to this in the future is just
It's
like,
like,
what is
wait,
going on?
what is happening? That's funny. Oh no.
But yeah, and it's like the idea that, if, these people go there next year, and it's like if I go, it's like how amazing would it be if they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I remember you. You like you and all your friends spoke with us every day and that was funny?" It's like how great would that be, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, totally.
Um
It would be awesome.
yeah, and it's like that's honestly the kind of exposure that I think is worth experiencing.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're also creatives, who are also on their journey of just like trying to live, trying to make a living,
Yeah.
doing what they love.
Yeah. Well, and
And like,
not only that, but beyond exposure from that, which is just amazing and has the potential for maybe creating a friendship in the future.
mhm,
There's all the people who come by your booth and see your work and take your business card and look at your website, and
mhm,
people who maybe wouldn't have seen or experienced your work before
right.
that convention.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's
for sure.
widening your market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And like, yeah, there's just so much of that, like especially with like, so I guess that's kind of like the first part of like the next hard part.
mhm.
It's like promoting yourself, being like, "Hey, follow me on the internet," you
Mhm.
know. And it's like I am personally, I'll be candid, I'm very exhausted by the idea of having to promote myself on social media
Oh
because
yeah.
it's so much.
It is so much.
It is so much. And it's always, I think, for me, a little disheartening when, like, well, I don't want to say that, like, I didn't get new followers or anything, because I definitely got, like, a lot of, like, followers and people, like, eyes on, like, my social media from that weekend.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like, okay, I got new Instagram followers, but it's just like, well,
Instagram followers are particularly the way that they have Instagram following stuff. It's pretty complicated.
yeah, it's like, there there's just so much footwork that as an artist you have to do for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's really true.
Yeah. And like you can't have the mentality of just like, oh, now I'll just sit back and watch the numbers roll in. It's like you have to spam the hell out of the internet with your voice.
Not necessarily.
Maybe not. I don't
It
know.
it de- it all depends on what you want to do.
True. But that's kind of what I feel like. And that's where I'm exhausted by the idea of just like, oh, I got to promote this stuff, or it's like I need to learn about, just like be aware of like algorithms and like how those screw people over. And
Yep.
I'm just like, can't I just post once?
I know, right? Like, I'm done. Can I just post it and be done?
Yeah. Like,
Is
why
that
do I have
enough?
to make, yeah. Like, why do I have to make the same post over and over again across different platforms? Ugh, can't
Yeah.
can't someone else do it?
Yeah, I mean, they do. They do have whole marketing teams that do work for corporate accounts
Exactly.
that do exactly that.
Exactly. And it's like, I am not a corporation that can afford a marketing team.
You're like, my corporation is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm constantly just like, how ethical, like how strong is my ethical leaning against, free internships, with like, man, it's like, do I want to try to get someone to be like, hey, you know what you can do for me? Call it an internship.
I mean, that is ultimately the goal, right? Is
Right.
to pay an assistant to have someone help you with those things that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
like,
yeah.
no, no, you think for me.
You're like, please, please do the thinking.
I'm so tired. Please make this decision for me.
It is, you're right though. It's so exhausting. Like, trying to navigate social media and to promote through social media is a full time job.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it, let's say, if you're doing it in the way that they say you're supposed to get the most out of your time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did, before we talk a little bit about, more about this, I did want to say though that with the people that you meet at conventions, from what I can tell, and this is just from doing research, so much of my learning is research of other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still new to doing conventions too, but it seems to me like what happens is people return, and just like you go to your artist that you really like,
Mm-hmm.
they come see you
Yeah.
and they watch your work over time, and
Yeah.
that ends up being kind of lifetime collectors.
Right.
So it's, as with everything in illustration, it's a slow burn.
Oh boy.
I know, right? It's like I'm gonna be really broke for quite a while.
Yeah, and it's like
yes.
it's one of those things where it's like I knew that was the case. I knew what I was getting myself into when I was like, I'm gonna start my own business
Mm-hmm.
and build up to a company that I feel good about owning.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm, understandably, like anyone getting started on building a tower, you're just like, I'm on the 10th brick. How much? Oh, Jesus. It's like, I still need to do the rest of the tower.
I know, right? It's like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. And lay
it's
out
heavy.
maybe 2 or 3 more bricks, and you're just like, oh, Jesus, what did I do?
Yep. Yep. And then, like, the kind of hysteria, like, kind of seeps in, and you're like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. I've got one layer all around the perimeter.
I guess hysteria is a bad one to use since that's such a negative historical term.
Yeah.
We'll say, I don't know. I don't know what it says in. Something bad.
Something.
Something interesting.
Yeah. Interesting and entertaining and not depressing.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like just kind of like seeing yourself work, like chipping away, and you're just like, oh geez.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got myself into a doozy.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, you can go back to school. And I'm like, no, I can't, because school costs too much.
Yeah.
Not that anyone has ever actually told me that I can go back to school, because I surround myself with sane people who know that would be dumb.
It's helpful to have those kinds of people around, for sure.
Yeah.
To tell you no.
It's more me talking myself out of being like, maybe if I just go to grad school, I never have to pay off my loans, and then just, maybe the world will just end before I finish school.
It'll just explode.
Yeah.
The sun will hit us. It'll be fine.
The slow heat death of the world will happen before I finish school.
Nice.
Oh
no. Okay.
That is the best response to the slow heat death of the world. Nice.
I mean, really, that's kind of where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk, because I think this state of mind is directly related to my relationship with social media. Since since we did C2E2 and now we're doing social media because they're both related.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this because I was having conversations with you both, and I realized I hadn't really talked about this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's probably important to talk about.
Yes.
So after school, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Where are we anymore?
Who knows?
I don't know. I set out to do a bunch of research about kind of best practices for social media.
Mm-hmm.
I joined a bunch of different platforms. I did a ton of research through official articles, on the websites, and like official articles from people who are really successful, analysis of algorithms, analysis of best times to post.
Mm-hmm.
I am part of a couple professional groups, and I also researched those. Looked at
Yeah.
what, because their art is more like mine, so looked at how they were
Mm-hmm.
posting, studied their posts, studied their use of it, who was getting more followers, who was most successful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I joined a pod for um, Instagram. And
Yeah.
so, what a pod is, for anybody who doesn't know, is it's a way to beat the algorithm, because the algorithm for Instagram is super punishing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, what you do is you create a group, and you um, have a private group chat. And what you do is, when you post, you put your post in there, and then people go to that post, they like it, they comment on it, and you have to say 5 words or more
Mm-hmm.
for it to mean anything for the algorithm.
I see.
And and that boosts your image up to, so that other people can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it did work. I was able to double my followers, but then it slowed down again because they changed the algorithm.
Yeah.
And currently, the algorithm for Instagram, it will compare your posts to every previous post that you have ever made. And if it doesn't get the same number of likes and comments in the first 5 minutes, I don't know if that's exact, few minutes of
Mm-hmm.
posting,
Mm-hmm.
it'll bury it. It won't show it. It won't show it to hashtags. It won't show it to the feed. It
Wow.
won't show it to your followers.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I do too. I do too, a lot. A lot.
I mean,
It makes followers mean nothing, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, partly it's kind of okay for like a small fry like me because I'm just like, oh, well, my more recent posts are getting more hits anyway
Mhm.
than, my the picture I Instagrammed of my breakfast 4 years ago. But at the same time, it's like when you're trying to get more established, it's like, okay, it's like this one piece got a bunch of hits 2 years ago, but it's like my art's different, my art's better, and I
Yeah.
needed to get more hits immediately.
Right. And it won't be shown to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And yeah.
they have to interact with it in that first tiny little window.
Mm-hmm.
Um and on top of it, there's also they also measure how long you've been on the site, and they measure how much you've interacted with other posts. They
Mm-hmm.
measure how many comments you've made on other posts. And especially
Sweet Jesus.
posts, yeah, especially posts that you're not following.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah. So,
Oh.
and unfortunately, like, oh, and of course, time of day, and you have to be consistent. You have to post at the same time of day every week, the same day, preferably Tuesday through Thursday, because those are peak times, and 5 o'clock is usually the best time, especially in the Midwest.
Right. Yeah.
So you have all of this to take
Oh.
into consideration. And honestly, the algorithm for Instagram is very similar to Facebook's algorithm.
Yeah.
Um, Twitter
Because
seems to be the least punishing of them, but it still has a lot of those same rules.
yeah, because Facebook owns Instagram right now, don't they?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So kind of add up.
Yep.
Um. Yeah. Geez.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Me too.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's just
miserable.
like
Yeah, it's miserable, especially when you kind of remember back in the days when you're like, I used to be able to just post and people would see it.
yeah.
not, it didn't have all these gates and these hoops you had to jump through. Well, and also because, oh, let's talk about hashtags too. I didn't even talk about hashtags. If you
Mm-hmm.
do 5 hashtags is a sweet spot. If you do too many hashtags, you'll be shadow banned.
Shadow banned.
Yeah. Which
Does
means,
that mean you like seem too spammy?
yeah. So they hide your posts and they don't tell you when they take it off. Um, yeah.
God.
Yeah, so there's that. And let's see. There was another thing too.
So I'm curious about the stories and how Instagram has integrated that,
Yeah.
because I feel like people are trying to, hope to like bypass the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, stories have definitely been boosted as one of the ways, but I think there are also limits on that too. Or I can't imagine they wouldn't be putting limits on that pretty soon.
Open my feed.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
So like people that will like post in their Instagram stories, it's like might not show up in my feed just because it's
Mm-hmm.
like they're being shuffled out. And it's
Right.
like now that Instagram also has that like that thing of the quote unquote recent posts for you to catch up on, where it's just like, oh, here's what you missed, and then after a few it's like, okay, you're all caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that incentivizes you to just be like, okay, well, I'm done looking,
Right.
which sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I personally am not a huge fan of stories, but that's just me as a
Mm-hmm.
user. Like, I don't, as a user,
Fair.
as someone who's, I don't necessarily, it's not something I usually click on, but that's just me as a
Mm-hmm.
user. I don't know if other
Yeah.
people are just really enjoying them, if they're liking them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it does seem to be that people are like you said, trying to use it to bypass the algorithm for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I feel like I was kind of on the same boat because like I know, I mean, I don't know factually, but it's clear enough, that it's like, okay, Instagram started integrating stories to
Mm-hmm.
sort of compete with Snapchat,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all Snapchat is.
Right.
Um, and then, obviously Facebook also integrated them. And it's like, I don't look at them so much on Facebook because, like, it's mostly like close friends and stuff. Or, yeah, like, kind of like personal network as opposed to professional network.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like, yeah, if I want to talk to someone, I'll just go to their profile or shoot them a message or something.
Yeah.
But it's like on Instagram where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to build a professional presence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I originally like when I saw that they introduced stories, like I liked the idea of it because I didn't want to bother with Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but I was still kind of resistant to it because I'm just like, man, that's like a whole other thing that I need to like stay caught up.
Right.
It's like this other piece of just like I need to update it, or I need to see people's stories if I want to see what they're up to, because it's like it's the more casual, easier post of that platform, where like the actual feed has become like, oh, but that's the more formal posting,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
and it's just like that has become so much, and it's just like I enjoy going through stories, but again, it's very easy to miss content on stories too, because it's just like you can just skip through them pretty easily,
Oh, yeah. That makes
you
sense.
know
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's exhausting. And they can constantly change the rules and they can constantly make it harder and harder for creators to get to their audience. And that's because they want people to pay them for it. They want people to
Yeah.
pay for access, pay to play. And I hate that.
Yep. Me too.
But I do know some artists that pull back from it. They have other connections, they have other networks, and they are just fine. They are just as
Yeah.
successful, if not more. And I think at least for me, my answer for me, because I struggled with it, I burnt out and took a break from social media, because I was so discouraged by this.
Yeah.
Um,
As
But
I am currently.
yeah, exactly. I was where you are. And I did this long soul search of like, well, what do I actually like to do? What will I actually do consistently? What
Right.
what is fun for me? What I mean, Chris, I was watching Critical Role.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys are doing something they love that they're already good at
Mm-hmm.
doing, that they're already
Mm-hmm.
doing anyway. And I was like, what is that for me? And so that's
Yeah.
when I started thinking about building more of a Twitch presence
Yeah.
because I love this. I love doing the podcast. I think it's so fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
So,
sure. It's for me, it's like a nice different experience.
yeah.
It's it's just a thing that, how do I put it? It's just nice having, I guess, like a regular commitment that I'm not the one organizing.
Yeah.
That where I just get to show up
Exactly.
and it doesn't cost me anything.
No. No. We just get to sit here and talk about art and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do too. So I'm building more Twitch stuff because I enjoy it.
Hell yeah.
And I'm trying to set a schedule for social media that I can do, that I have time to do.
Mhm.
And I'm also trying to focus on the part of social media, which all of them have, which is they
Mhm.
reward you for your interactions with other
Yeah.
people. And I'm like, I like going around saying awesome. you know?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
going around cheering people on. I
Yeah.
like that connection. So, and also our very smart and always inspiring friend Julie Wilmore. She gave me a great idea of to fill Instagram with things that you love, almost like Pinterest,
Mm.
instead of filling it with fellow artists that maybe you don't know, because I think that can get pretty discouraging after a while.
Mhm.
If you're always looking at your favorite artists and you're just like, why am I not there?
Mm.
Why am I
Mhm.
not that good? I at least for me, it was getting me down.
Yeah.
So, um, I just added a bunch of French bulldogs
Good.
and historical fashion and cupcakes.
That is awesome.
And other assorted national parks and you know
That is that's I like that. I think
isn't
that's a
that
good
a
idea.
good idea?
Yeah.
I
I
was
feel
like,
like,
why didn't I think of that?
yeah, I feel like I kind of do that, and at the risk of sounding like,
Oh no.
this thing, it's just like I just like to look at these pretty people smiling.
You fill your Instagram with pretty people smiling?
Yeah.
I love it.
Just like nice, attractive celebrities.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm That's just what I like to look at.
You know
I
what?
feel weird.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. So many people do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you happy so that when you open Instagram you don't instantly cry.
Yeah. I
that's
think
that's what I'm
that's
going for.
yeah. I think that's something that like Avan has down because like literally all he follows on Facebook is like food pages.
Oh, awesome.
He loves just watching people cook and bake and make food.
So good.
And it's funny because like it's not even a thing of like, oh, that's a recipe I want to try, or like, oh, that looks delicious, because he's a very picky eater.
Oh, yeah.
So it's funny because like he was watching a video of some like smoking like ribs or something, and like it looked amazing because you could see it like
Ooh.
getting really tender and everything. And I was sitting behind him watching. I was like, oh my god, my mouth is watering.
Like just
And he's like, he turns and he's like, that looks good to you? I'm like, yeah, that looks like, why are you watching this video?
Mm.
And he's like, I don't know, I'm just curious about the process, but like, it doesn't look appetizing to me. I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
What?
I'm just like, I'm drooling over here.
That sounds so good.
But like, I find it so interesting that it's like, it's just like a satisfying thing to watch. Like, some people have their like slime videos, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or the like ASMR, I guess.
Yep.
But it's just like, you do what I guess is good for your brain, you know?
Yeah. 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 That brought me to this place that I'm at right now, which is basically like everything is terrible. So you
Yeah.
better take care of yourself.
Yeah. Honestly, yes. And you know, this day and age, and this economy,
Yeah.
uh yeah, you got to take care of yourself, because again, it's like, I prefer to go with the, you know, sort of quote unquote happy. I keep saying quote unquote today. I don't know what I'm either quoting a lot of things, or I'm just clearly misusing a lot of phrases, and I'm hoping the quotes will make up for that. But
That's fine. It's fine. It'll be all right.
and the sort of idea of like that sort of like optimistic nihilism, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, shit's going to hell right now, doesn't matter, I'm gonna enjoy my sandwich,
Yeah.
you know. It's
Yeah.
like, who cares?
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. Social media is terrible. So figure out
Yeah.
the way that you will work for you in a healthy way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. And making money at art is hard. So figure out a way that you to do it that you enjoy and that won't
Exactly. I'm
totally kill you
Yeah.
off, you know? Like,
Great.
it's just, yeah. Exactly. Do it your
I'm
way.
gonna Yeah, I'm gonna doodle in my sketchbook and look at cute people.
Yeah. That sounds like a good evening.
It truly
Yeah. It's good.
is. Oh man.
So there you
So
go.
the lesson we've learned today is the world is difficult and it is on fire,
Yep.
but we can still make it a happy place.
Yeah. It'll be a happy on fireplace. It'll be fine.
Like, it's nice. It's toasty
Yeah.
for those that like warm weather.
That's right.
The rest of us, well, you know where the freezer is.
Yeah. You're like ice cubes and
Yeah.
okay. A lot of iced coffee.
Oh boy. I feel bad sometimes, because like I like say, so I feel like I say a lot of really dark things very jokingly, and like I forget how extreme it can get, because it's like, with like people that know me and people that I'm comfortable with, it's like, it's easy to go along with, but it's like, when I'm talking to people that I'm more just kind of like acquainted with, they start going like, whoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, that took a dark turn. I'm like, I'm sorry, I find the disparity of the world delightful, apparently. It's like, I don't know how to explain myself. I'm so sorry.
It's hilarious. Come on.
Yeah. Why be sad about it? I don't.
Yeah, what's the point? You might as well just have a good time.
Yeah, it's like, I spend so much time being sad about other things. I'm not
Ugh.
gonna be sad about things I can't control.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And you know what? I think on that note, we should like totally end the episode.
Yeah.
Because that's a good one.
On that high note.
Yeah, I like it. All right. All right. So you've been listening to Through Dangers Untold. Our logo was created by Karen Hodo, and you can find her online at kmhododesigns.com. And you can find me at Instagram. But you can also find me on my website at sonnetshaline.com, and also on Twitch, Twitch TV Sonnet Shaline. I am streaming every Wednesday Except today, which is the podcast, so I'm still streaming, but I'm doing live art and we're doing group draws, and come and hang out. It's the same time, 8 to 9 every Wednesday, so yeah, come on over. And Vicky?
You can find me anywhere on the internet as Vixtifer, Vixtifer.com, Patreon.com/Vixtifer. Come
Mm-hmm.
on. Come support the creation, the inception of a very cool comic that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Vixtifer. That's it. I hope you are all happy and not letting sadness overtake you.
Yes. Yes. Fight back with what? Joy and tea
Donuts.
and donuts and beautiful and cute puppies and beautiful people.
Yes, and if you have celiacs, with gluten-free pastries,
Gluten-free donuts. Eat
gluten-free
those.
donuts. Oh hell yeah!
That actually sounds good, like a chocolate peanut butter one. That sounds
Mm.
pretty good.
Ooh.
All right. Join us on May 9th, 2019, for our next episode. And thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next month.
Bye
Bye.
bye.